1998. I'll never forget it.
In 2005, Capcom didn't just release a game, they accidentally wrote the blueprint for the next 2 decades of action titles. If you've played a third-person shooter in the last 20 years, you've played Resident Evil 4. But why? Why does a game from the GameCube era about a secret agent fighting bug-infested cultists still hold the crown? Let's break down why the classic Resident Evil 4 is, and always will be, iconic. First, let's talk about the over-the-shoulder revolution. Before Resident Evil 4, horror was about what you couldn't see because of a fixed camera angle.
Richard! What happened?
This game changed the math. By placing the camera right over Leon's shoulder, Capcom bridged the gap between visceral action and claustrophobic tension. The impact. It made aiming personal. You weren't just pointing a character, you were looking through their eyes. The legacy. Without this specific camera shift, we don't get Gears of War, Dead Space, or The Last of Us. It turned the player from a spectator into a participant. 2. The gameplay loop Resident Evil 4 introduced a rhythmic stagger and strike mechanic. It wasn't just about dumping lead into enemies, it was about crowd control. Shoot the head to stun, shoot the leg to trip, and then, the most satisfying button prompt in history, the contextual melee. It turned every encounter into a high-stakes dance because you couldn't move while aiming, the famous tank controls. Every shot had to count. You weren't just surviving, you were calculating. 3. Inventory Tetris. We have to talk about the Attache case. Most games treat menus as a chore, but the classic Resident Evil 4 turned it into a spatial puzzle. There is a primal, soothing satisfaction in rotating a rocket launcher to fit perfectly next to a row of green herbs. The professional's choice. If you didn't spend at least 10 minutes making sure your eggs were neatly lined up and your TMP was tucked into the corner, were you even playing? 4. The unapologetic B-movie energy. The classic Resident Evil 4 knows exactly how ridiculous it is. It balances genuine dread with 80s action movie cheese. You have Leon S. Kennedy delivering deadpan quips to a miniature Napoleon-esque villain.
From the great Lord Sadler. I've been expecting you, my brethren.
No thanks, bro.
My.
All while being chased by a giant stone statue of that same villain. It has personality. It isn't a generic, gritty horror game. It's a high-octane thrill ride that isn't afraid to be weird. From the merchant's gravelly, "What are you buying?" to the terrifying breathing of a regenerador, the sound design and character beats are etched into gaming history. The classic Resident Evil 4 didn't just move the camera, it moved the entire industry. It's a game that remains all killer, no filler, proving that even 20 years later, the original recipe is still the best.